Hello. So, what are the practical steps to franchise your business? Well, I'm about to tell you, and I might be a bit animated doing this video, just turning my phone off, because I'm minded that you might be watching the video back or coming back to a couple of points. So I might do a few hand gestures so that you can see which step we're actually at. But um, you'll be pleased to know that there are as few as, in our opinion, 8 steps to franchise a business. And this will apply to any business, any sector, any investment level. We've been doing this for many, many years now, and the same applies. But I'll come on to a bit about myself and Lime Licensing Group at the very end of the video, because I want to give you some really good information to start with. So we've talked about 8 steps. So here's the first step. So again, I'll just do a hand gesture in case you want to watch this back or come back to a particular point. So step number 1. And I'm going to reference some information I've got on my left just to make sure that I cover everything. Um, think about things as they are right now, and you need to make decisions like you're already there. No point trying to do it as an afterthought. Make the right decisions now, and it's going to help you later on. So, in step number 1, we'll talk about how you must protect your IP. You might think it's your company's house registration or your domains or your social media, and it might be lots of those things, but really importantly, you need to register your trademark, because actually ownership of anything, in fact, and certainly from a franchising point of view and business point of view, is you need to register and own your trademark. It is fair to say that you can't necessarily trademark everything, but in most business instances, you can register your trademark. And by the way, this is things that we can help you with or guide you through or coach you through. But again, I'll come on to that at the end of the video. So watch to the very end, and I'll advise you how you can get these resources or assistance, or we can even help you. So step number 1 is protect your IP. Now, moving to step number 2, and not 11, 2, just again, just to carry on with the animation in case you're watching this back, is you need to have an understanding of what the franchise marketplace looks like. So you'll know in your own business who your nearest competitors are, and we need to look into the franchising space and see what they are too. So you might have a look around and see what similar businesses there are to your potential franchise, and see what they're offering, with what franchise fee are and what ongoing payments they're going to be. And the reason we're asking you to do this is because we can almost guarantee you that people who are going to be looking at your franchise have also got an eye on your competitor franchises, and perhaps even others that you don't realize are competitors, but in your potential franchisees' eyes, they will, and they will get to know all of the details that I've just mentioned. So better you have an idea of it so you know what you're working within. So have a good understand of the franchise marketplace, especially to do with your business and your sector. We'll move on to number 3. So the third step is that you are best to help franchisees fund your franchise. Now, I don't mean you're going to be lending them the money, but there are institutions such as franchise-friendly banks. There's currently, and has been for several years, a government initiative that helps people. It's called the Government Startup Loan Scheme. and that's applicable to franchising. It might be that there's personal loans or bank loans that are applicable. Have a good understanding of what the financials look like and what funding options there's going to be, because I'll tell you this now, the more options that you've got, the more franchises you will sell. So the more people you'll help to buy your franchise. And in fact, actually, I'll just touch on that point right now. We're of the opinion that franchisees don't just rock up and buy a franchise. You're awarding them a franchise because you can see in them the right fit, and vice versa. So you're checking a franchisee out, the franchisee is checking you out, and assuming that they can get funding, which you're going to find out about. It's just finding the right fit for each other. That's really what franchising is. It's not necessarily about selling franchises, but I appreciate everybody does things differently, but again, that's our advice. So step 4, if you're watching back, so we're on to 4 now, 4 of 8, and this really starts dealing with the legal side of things. So it's a very important step, and as in life, if it's not written down, it doesn't exist. So there's 2 sides to the legal framework in franchising. One of them is that whether it's good or bad or indifferent, everything you know about your business, it's highly likely it's up here. And I suppose that's good and bad, but the downside is that you need to produce a document that lets a franchisee know about the business, so that clearly you can train them and they can follow their policies and procedures, etc., etc. Now, you'll do that in part by producing an operations manual. So that will give a franchisee enough information to be able to follow the business and the franchise without necessarily asking you. In reality, they're probably going to ask, but it's a very important document that you have to produce in franchising. We've got, to a degree, a template version that you can use and follow, so you're not starting from scratch. But this is very simply, excuse me, information about business that you will know already. It's just we've got to put that into a formal document so that people can replicate the business. And then secondly, on step 4 is the franchise agreement. So highly likely that you'll need some assistance from a solicitor to produce this. And this really sets out everything actually, but certainly any initial and ongoing payments, what everybody's rights are. So the franchisor rights, that's you, by the way, the franchisee rights, obligations that people need to meet and date, and probably, well, it will have any territory that's being awarded that's exclusive to that franchisee. So you can see some fairly heavy hitting items to sort out as step 4, so week 4 of 8. But I'll move along because we're trying to keep this video quite short and concise so that you can follow it. But again, we'll give you some guidance on what you can do moving forwards to get very specific, tailored advice if you need it. So we'll go to week 5 or step 5. And step 5 really is you need to think about if you've created all of your franchising documents, and there will be typically between 30 to 35 separate items that you'll need to cover. You need to think about now what happens when you've got all of these documents created and the ability to be able to go to market. So you need to figure out what your campaign launch is going to will look like. You will for sure have a prospectus. That might be a paper version, but these days they're largely electronic because we can deliver them via email. It could include things like this. You could do some very, very quick and simple, or protracted if you want to, YouTube videos. And again, we don't know how people want to receive information. Do they want to watch a YouTube video? Would they rather see written content? Would they rather pick up the phone? So let's just have every tool available to them, and then you're more likely to be able to engage with them. And by engage, I mean you need a mechanism for those potential franchisees to partially put their hands up and say, look, I've seen what it is that you've got to offer. I've seen your franchise opportunity. I know a little, but I'd like to find out a lot more. So you're creating a vehicle to make that happen. So think about the documents now that you need to be able to go live. Get those created so that we're ready by the time we get to step 8. But I'll just progress quite nicely onto step 6. Now, step 6 talks about obligations by each party. So you're now going to be, or you will be, a franchisor. Now, this might be quite different to the largely independent business that you're currently running. And by that, what I mean is that as a franchisor, you will have roles and responsibilities. You will have initial obligations and ongoing obligations. And in the same way, your franchisee will do too. So best to be prepared up front before you onboard any franchisees and make sure that you are happy to and you can commit to those obligations. So as an example, one of those obligations is initial training. So what will you need to do to get your franchisee to a point where if the franchise is operating like this, where they're able to trade independently with your support, of course. So there's initial and ongoing obligations, and you'll also spell out what support mechanisms you're going to have and how a franchisee can receive those. So you'll spell out exactly what that looks like. It's a really critical part of franchising, and I would say that there's things that franchisees are very concerned about from the outset, especially if they've not been part of a franchising setup. One of them will be how they're going to get funded. So, of course, you will cover that in step 3 on what options are available to them. And the second one is they're concerned about support. What does that support look like and who delivers that? So in step 5, you can spell out exactly how that looks. And if nothing else, it'll give them the reassurance they need to make an informed decision. Because don't forget, when a franchisee is looking at what you're about to offer, they'll also be looking at some fairly elite operators that have probably been doing this a lot longer than you have. And I can assure you, they'll have everything like a well-oiled machine, or at least the hope is that they will have. Some are great and some others not so great, as I'm sure you'll probably see yourself anyway. So we'll move on. So we're now going to move to step 7. So 7 of 8. And here we're going to talk about policies. I would think some of the questions that you'll get asked when a franchisee is doing some due diligence on the opportunity is if this was going to be a 5-year renewable term. And lots are, but they don't necessarily have to be 5 years. But let's just imagine it's a good average. They might ask you during that term, what happens if I want to leave the franchise? Or another typical question is, if it's a 5-year term, what happens in year 6? And of course, they're great questions, aren't they? Because you will need to address them at some point. So we've got, or we'd advise a creation of documents to spell that out up front before they've even joined the franchise, so they're fully aware, even if you like, before they've even asked the question, on what that looks like during term and post term, any restrictions that there might be. You're trying to be open and as transparent as you can before the franchisee's committed or even parted with a single penny. If you want to get this right, is the point I'm making. We can guide you and advise you on what we'd do, and then it's up to you to follow best practice, I suppose. So policies will be step 7. Really critical point this, because we do see lots of franchise brands that haven't thought about this aspect, and it's just like kicking the can a bit further down the road. You're going to need to deal with it at some point, so you might as well just do everything at a very high level from the outset, deal with any questions that you get from the outset, and then you really just make it much easier for a franchisee to join your franchise rather than perhaps a competing franchise. And then last but not least, so we'll go to step 8. I think I've got those right up my fingers. And step 8 really deals with what you now do when you've created all the necessary documents. And I mentioned before, you will have 30 to maybe 35 separate documents. And what do you do now to get it to market? So we're in week 5. We've already determined what we need to go to market, but now in step 8, we now need to realize where we're going to place those marketing and advertising, what we're going to put where to generate that inbound interest. So again, we're getting people to put their hands up and say, yep, I'm definitely interested in this franchise. I would like to receive more information. There's no point in the creation of all of these documents and then not telling anybody, because you've potentially got the best hidden secret ever, haven't you? So think about, when you're looking to franchise a business, think about document creation, and then think about the marketing or the advertising activity you'll need to make people aware that this franchise now exists, and then you're ready to award, not sell, the franchise. Now, obviously, this is a very short video just to give you some pointers as a starting point, and I'd say this is the very start. There's lots and lots of work to do. To give you an idea, we can help you produce these documents from start to finish in 8 weeks. So that's why you'll notice that I kept referencing weeks or steps. So we've been doing that for many, many years, and we can do it within 8 weeks with these. Even if you've got started nowhere, you've got nothing. So hopefully this is a start for you as well. Now, if you decide that you'd rather get some expert guidance on how to do all of this, whether it's that we coach you on it or whether we do it for you or with you, you can see here, this is the company, limelicensinggroup.co.uk. So go online and check us out. There's some free tools and resources. We'll even offer you a free power hour where we can go through this in much more detail. And if you want to reach out to me independently, I'm Richard Pakey. I'm the Managing Director of Lime Licensing Group, and you can reach me either by email. Very, very simple. It's richard@limelicinsinggroup.co.uk, and it's all one word, no gaps. So richard@limelicinsinggroup.co.uk. Make sure you spell it right, because people often miss out the GG. Or you can call me, text me, WhatsApp me, whatever suits you, and we can set up a call or whatever. And my contact details are 07904 697 591. So hopefully, if you're looking to franchise a business or your business, this is just the start. Reach out on the contact details that I've given you, and hopefully we can help you too. Thanks very much.